Do you want a stronger, more connected marriage without having to schedule appointments, pay a hefty fee, or find a babysitter? Connected and Committed is a 6-week self-study course designed to help you break unhealthy cycles, communicate with clarity, rebuild trust, and reignite intimacy on your own. Each week, you will dive into 3 powerful recorded coaching sessions, practical exercises, and expert-backed strategies that create lasting change. Whether you're feeling disconnected or just want to deepen your bond, this course is going to guide you every single step of the way. Purchase grants you lifetime access and can be done with your spouse or on your own. Invest in your marriage today. Visit the link in the show notes to learn more. Welcome to the Married and Connected podcast. This is the podcast to hear authentic stories of marriages that have gone from ashes to excellence, a mixture of science and biblically based tips to improve your own marriage, and experts in fields that will help you navigate the good, the bad, and the in-between of marriage. I am your host for the show, Kameran Al-Areqi. I'm an Enneagram 2 with a 1 wing, a former public school teacher turned Gottman certified marriage coach, intentional about practicing in my own relationship what I'm preaching to you. I'm an avid self-improvement reader, passionate about homeschooling our 2 boys, a firm believer in Jesus, and that nothing will change you for the better more than traveling. That being said, this podcast is set up as if you and I were old friends, sitting together, drinking coffee, sharing all of our deepest secrets of marriage, life, kids, and the things that set our souls on fire. If improving your marriage, authenticity, and growth are your jam as much as they are mine, you're in the right place, and I couldn't be more excited to have you here. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. Leave a review, and don't forget to share to your socials so that more people can better their marriage along with you. Thanks for listening, and let's jump into this week's episode. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Married and Connected podcast. I'm your host, Kameran Al-Areqi, and today we are diving deep into something that so many couples struggle with, and that is apologizing. And not just the, oh, my bad, or, oh, I'm really sorry you feel that way. Apologies. No. We are getting into real, healing, restorative apologies. You know those fights where afterward everything feels awkward and tense and nobody really knows like how to bring it back or what to say or like how to repair? Or the moments when your partner just can't seem to say, I'm sorry. It's always a justification or this is, I wouldn't have done this if you wouldn't have done this. And then it starts to chip away at your trust. We're going to cover all of that today. Why we don't apologize, what repair looks like, how to navigate those really stuck moments, how to forgive for real. And by the end of this episode, you will not only know how to apologize well, but you will be able to recognize what healthy repair looks like and how to create it in your relationship. Dr. John Gottman says that the success or failure of a couple's repair attempts is one of the primary factors in whether or not a relationship is going to succeed or fail. And the statistic around that is that in his Love Lab studies, Gottman could predict over 90% accuracy whether a couple would stay together based on how well they used and received repair attempts during conflict, not whether they fought. Every couple is going to have arguments. Every couple is going to fight. But how they made amends afterwards is really what matters. So let's get started on how to use and receive repair attempts so that you are an expert in it by the end of this episode and have a higher chance of staying together because that's the whole goal of this podcast as it is. So why are apologies so hard to begin with? Well, let's start with the truth. We resist it because it makes us feel vulnerable. We fear being blamed for everything. That vulnerability and fear of being blamed may be the reason that the argument started in the first place. And if there's a lack of emotional safety in your relationship, there's a really good chance that being vulnerable with your partner is already hard for you. A lot of times we've been taught that apologizing is a sign of weakness. You stand your ground and you do not back down. Or, and this is an even bigger possibility, we've just never seen it modeled well. When we're in preschool, we're taught to say, oh, I'm sorry, and move on with our day. And then we're never taught anything else about apologies until we get into a relationship and we're in a marriage and it's, oh, I'm sorry. Or even, oh, my bad. Or, oh, yeah, I messed up. That doesn't help. And we haven't been modeled how to do this well. We haven't, the expectation is there because it's an unspoken expectation we have within ourselves. We know that I'm sorry is an elementary way of apologizing, but we don't know how to do it better. And this is why I'm here. I am here to teach you all the things that we weren't taught growing up. So if your home growing up didn't include healthy repair, you may never have learned the language of reconciliation. If you didn't actually see arguments happen, if your parents fought behind closed doors or argued behind closed doors, and then there was this awkward energy of like, okay, we know something's going on between mom and dad, but we're not really sure what it is. They're not as affectionate as they used to be. Their words are very clipped and very, 1 word, 2 word answers to things. It's not the norm, but also we haven't seen anything go on. You are probably going to think that conflict and arguments and all of this just don't happen in healthy marriages. And so that then creates an inability to apologize, but it also creates this fear and anxiety inside of you of like, oh my gosh, we're arguing, we're disagreeing. That means that we're not supposed to be together and we're not supposed to be, we're going to get a divorce. And that's not true either. According to Dr. John Gottman, it is not the conflict that destroys a relationship. It is the lack of repair. And Gottman found that relationships succeed not because couples avoid fighting. If you're avoiding an argument, you are avoiding hard conversations. That's only going to lead to resentment. No, instead, it's because they know how to come back to one another after an argument or a fight. 69% of conflict in marriage is perpetual. That means that it's probably not going to be solved, but it is going to need to be managed. Okay. So these conflicts are things like money. I see a lot of that. That these arguments are things that you have constantly. Money. I'll be very honest. A lot of it is a lack of perspective. You're only willing to see your perspective in this, and you're not willing to see your partner's. Another topic is parenting. Parenting styles are absolutely very different in a lot of marriages. These are things that constantly cause conflict. Another one is like hot topics like politics, vaccines. Another one is travel. Travel is a really big one too, especially right here during the summer and then around the holidays of how much time are your in-laws getting? How much time are my in-laws getting? How are we traveling? Are we taking the kids? What do we need to bring? What do we not? The in-laws. In-laws are another big topic as well. And here's the thing. Couples who stay together aren't fighting less. They're just better at repair. Now, before we go any further, I need to clarify. When I'm using the word fighting, this is arguments. Okay? These are heated discussions. These are you are pissed. You're pissed for like 2 or 3 days, okay? And a couple of things on this. Number 1, these types of fights do not include name calling. They do not include cussing each other out. They do not include any kind of physical abuse whatsoever. Now, here's another kicker to this, all right? A lot of people think that physical abuse is only if you put your hands or if your body part connects with their body part in an angry way. That is not true. Slamming doors, throwing things, kicking things, anything even if you're kicking an inanimate object, it's still physical abuse. Okay. These are not fights. They are, but these are not what we're talking about here. Those types of fights are not perpetual. That is not healthy. If you have that in your relationship, you need to get help immediately. And if you are being physically harmed, you need to get out. You guys need time apart. You need to be separated. You safety first. Okay. So when I say fighting, that is not what I'm talking about. I am talking about these perpetual arguments that it always seems to happen. That anytime you guys are getting ready to go for a trip, you guys are arguing over where to go, how much to spend, who to include, who not to include, who's packing, who's unpacking, all of those kinds of things. If you are in a place where fights happen and then everything is just swept under the rug, you are not alone. But you also don't have to stay there. So, what do we do? First off, I want to teach you a tool that I use with my clients all the time, and it is called the 5-finger apology. It is absolute gold. And I've talked about it several times on the podcast, but if you are new here, welcome. Each finger represents a part of a complete, sincere apology, and you cannot have a complete, sincere apology without each finger. So the first one is, I'm sorry. Okay. If you are not saying specifically, I'm sorry in your apology, it is not a true apology. I am sorry for, that is your second finger. So I'm sorry is your thumb. For is your second finger. I'm sorry for, what did you do? Take accountability. Now, be specific here. You're not saying you're sorry for everything. You're not saying that you're sorry for the entire argument. You're not taking the blame for all of the things, but you are saying, I'm sorry for raising my voice when you asked me this question. I'm sorry for getting heated. I'm sorry for losing my temper. I'm sorry for saying specifically what I said to hurt your feelings. Okay. You're saying specifically what you are sorry for here. Okay. Third finger. All right. I know it impacted you by. This is empathy. You are saying, I know that it made you feel dismissed and like your feelings didn't matter. I know that I hurt you and I made you lose trust in me. You are saying specifically what you did and how you feel. So basically what you're going to do is put yourself in their shoes. If they did what you did to you, how would it have made you feel? Empathy is a learned skill, and it is something that many, many people are missing in today's world. So this is going to teach you that. And here's the thing too, before I go any further, this is a really good tool to teach your kids as well. So when a 3-year-old comes to you and they've thrown a toy at your face, or they told you no, or whatever the case may be, don't just teach them to say, I'm sorry. Start this 5-finger apology. What are you sorry for? What did you do? Okay, great. Now when they're like 5 or 6, what did you do? I'm sorry for, and then how do you think that made mommy feel? How do you think that made daddy feel? How do you think that made your brother feel? Do you want your brother to do that to you? No? Okay, why? Okay, start teaching your kids this too. All right. So I'm sorry for, I know it impacted you by. Fourth finger is, in the future, I will. This is the change part. This is where you're going to say something like, I'm going to take a deep breath and I'm going to ask for a break before reacting. I'm going to use a safe word like pineapple or panda or purple umbrella. And I'm going to take a walk around the block. I'm going to go read. I'm going to go for a run. Here's what I'm going to do so that I don't lose my cool again, so that we don't end up right here where we are. If you want your arguments to change, if you want the dynamic in your relationship to change, you have to physically change it. Okay? So this is the change part. Now, the 5th finger is, will you forgive me? You are inviting connection and ownership. You're not demanding it. You're inviting it. You're asking them, will you forgive me? There may be a chance where your partner says, I'm not ready for that. And that's okay. You have put the ball in their court. They know that you're inviting that connection and that ownership. And now it is their responsibility to come back to you and say, hey, thank you for your apology. I forgive you. And I really appreciated that you have a plan to change. I really, and now we're passing the ball back and forth, right? That's what communication is. So now they've put the ball back in your court. It's your job to match your words and your actions to actually live out that change. Okay. So you've put the ball back in their court. All right. So now here's the thing. So you've given your 5-finger apology. I'm sorry for, I know it impacted you this way. Here's what I'm going to do in the future. And will you forgive me? Now let them process. Just give them some space to feel and to respond, and don't expect an instant resolution. You're not apologizing to get it over quickly, okay? You're not apologizing to just move on. You are truly, a genuine apology is saying, hey, I know this still hurts. I'm not going to be able to take that hurt away immediately. And I'm still sorry that it happened. I'm still sorry that I did it. I'm letting you know that you mean more to me than whatever it was I did. You mean more to me than my pride. You mean more to me than being right. That's why you're apologizing. And if both of you learn how to do this, if both of you learn to apologize well and often, it is going to transform the dynamic in your relationship. Gottman labeled couples who thrive over time as masters of relationship and those who fall apart as disasters. Masters and disasters. So what sets the masters apart from the disasters? They responded positively to repair attempts at least 86% of the time. The disasters often rejected or missed repair attempts altogether. So things like, you're not really sorry. You say you're sorry all the time. Or you apologizing and there's no changed behavior. That part where we talked about how it's now your responsibility to actually match your words and actions so that when you say you're going to do something in the future, you actually do it. If there's no changed behavior, the apology is manipulation. Period. The end. If there's no changed behavior, you are not apologizing. You are manipulating your partner so that they feel better about the situation and you can do it again. There has to be changed behavior. The changed behavior is the biggest part of the apology. In past episodes, like clear back probably before like episode 50, when I was a baby coach and I had just kind of started all of this, and I was only a couple of years in, I coached a lot on apology languages. Here's the deal. Apology languages are great. And it's just one more thing to add to your plate. It's just one more thing of like, my partner's love language is this, but their apology language is this, but that's not my apology language. So how do I apologize well? How do I love well? How do I do these things? No, we're going to simplify it. The 5-finger apology wraps up all 5 apology languages into one. It is a full and complete apology. It does not matter if you are apologizing to the Amazon delivery guy, to your mother, to your brother, to the nanny, or if you are apologizing to your child or your spouse. One type of apology covers it all. And then you change the behavior, and it's so much easier and less for you to remember. Let's take a moment and talk about something that's just as important as knowing how to apologize well. And that is recognizing when an apology isn't an apology at all. Because let's be honest, there are many apologies out there that just make things worse. You've probably heard one or maybe even given one that left you feeling more frustrated, more dismissed, and definitely not closer. So here's a few common types of pseudo apologies that do not repair trust. First one is the if apology. I'm really sorry if you were offended. This one shifts the focus off the action that you did and onto your partner's feelings, as if their pain is the real problem. And here's why it hurts. It suggests that the hurt that they feel isn't real or valid. And it's basically saying, you're really dramatic. You're too sensitive. Oh, you have emotions? That's sad. You're weak. Here's how to say it instead. I'm really sorry for saying, and then tell what you said. Repeat it. I see that what I said came across as really dismissive, and I'm sorry for not being more thoughtful. In the future, I will watch my words a little bit more carefully. Do you forgive me? Okay, number 2 is the but apology. And that is, I'm really sorry, but you were being really unreasonable. Oof. The word but negates everything that comes before it. It is a defensive apology that's just really a hidden jab. And why it hurts is that it turns the apology into blame. So now we're arguing again instead of repairing, and that negates the entire purpose of the apology to begin with. So what to say instead is, hey, I'm really sorry for handling that situation so poorly. I regret how I handled it, and I want to understand what was going on for you without being defensive. Will you forgive me? And can we try again? Number 3, the "I'm sorry you feel that way" apology. Ugh. This makes me want to throw up. I'm sorry you feel that way. Sounds nice, feels terrible. It centers around your partner's reaction and not your behavior. There's no ownership, there's no empathy, it's just avoidance. Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. You're completely taking any responsibility of your own off the table. So here's what you say instead. I'm sorry for hurting you. It wasn't my intention, but I can see how it landed, and I take full responsibility for that. In the future, I will you forgive me? Number 4, the guilt dump apology. Yeah, I know. I'm just the worst. I'm the worst spouse ever. You probably hate me. I can never do anything right for you. This one flips the script, and now you need comforting. So you hurt your partner, but now you're the one that's needing comfort. It puts your partner in the position of soothing you as the parent, which blocks their own healing. And it blocks any kind of connection between the two of you and only creates more resentment. So what you say instead is, I am truly sorry. I want to make this right. And I know it starts with really listening to how I hurt you. Can we try again? Will you forgive me? Number 5 is the over apology. I'm sorry. My 4-year-old does this. Sometimes this comes from anxiety, and while it might seem like humility, it can overwhelm your partner and sound like a shutdown tactic. It's really hard for your partner to respond to or even believe. If somebody says, go right, that's out of anxiety. But if they're saying, I'm sorry, do you honestly believe them? Instead, it's childish. It feels like you're trying to end the conversation without doing the repair. So instead, take a breath and say, hey, I really want to make this better. And I know that it starts with one real apology. So what I'm actually sorry for is this. And then continue the 5-finger apology. So listen to the common thread here. All of these apologies avoid one thing. And it is the one thing that determines whether or not your marriage is going to make or break. And that is accountability. In studies shown, the one thing that a marriage must have, no matter what, if they want to make it, is accountability. So if your apology doesn't say, I did this, I see it hurt you, I want to repair it, I am showing humility, then it's not doing its job. And the good news is, this is not difficult. It is a skills gap that needs to be learned, and you can start shifting this right now. It doesn't require your partner to be perfect. It doesn't require you to nail it perfectly every single time. It just requires genuine humility, curiosity, and presence. And when couples are emotionally attuned, they're likely to recognize and respond well to repair attempts. Because remember, that's the key. That couples who actually repaired well over time stayed together as long as they recognized and responded well at least 86% of the time. And this is why emotional safety and connection are critical prerequisites to successful apologizing and reconciliation. These are all choices and skills gaps that you can start learning right now. Episode 96 talks about humility. Episode 86 talks about connection, disconnection, and emotional safety. Okay, so let's talk about some scenarios. One of the scenarios that I have happened quite a bit with couples who I'm working with, they'll send me a Voxer message because that, and if you're not familiar with Voxer, it is an application that I use in my coaching to where you get support between sessions. And a lot of times what I will hear is, hey, we just had this argument. It's lasted a couple of days, or it was really big tonight, or it was really heated. And usually we just sweep it under the rug. And we don't want to keep doing that, but like, now what? What do we do? During conflict, successful couples maintain a ratio of 5-1. So that's 5 positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction. Now, a lot of times people mess this up and they're going to say that Dr. Gottman says that you have to have a 5-1 positive to negative ratio in your daily life. That is not true. It is actually a 20-1 positive to negative ratio just in everyday life. It is 5-1 during conflict. Okay, very important here. So what do positive interactions look like? It's a joke that's well-timed and well-placed. Very important. It is a way that you know that your partner always smiles when you do this. Like my husband winks at me a lot of times because he knows that that is going to get me every single time. There's nothing in this world that I could be pissed about so bad. If he winks at me, it's like, dadgum you. And then like it just brings a lightness to the response and to the conflict. It is things like offering a hug. It is things like a couple that I know that I absolutely adore, they kiss while they're arguing. It's like, but you shouldn't have done that. And then they'll kiss and they'll be like, I know, I'm really sorry. And then they'll kiss. So when we were in college, they've been together since college. And when we were in college, we were like, God, why? Why do you even argue? Like, you guys are dumb. But now they've been married 20 some years and it's really cute. And it's like, okay, this is actually what's supposed to happen. So repair attempts like, I'm sorry, or reaching for connection, that helps restore the balance during or after conflict. So let's say you guys have had this huge argument. You don't really know what to do. You are struggling. It's that awkward, like, okay, do I apologize first? Do you apologize first? What do we do here? Here's the truth. Awkward silence is where resentment grows. If you're just sweeping it under the rug, moving on, oh, look, daily life, and like, there's still this like, I'm really mad at you. I don't like you. I love you, but I don't like you today. But we're going to pick up and go to the grocery store. We're going to pick up and go to Costco. We're going to pick up and go take the kids to day camp. What breaks the silence is humility. So saying something like, hey, I know that we got disconnected and I don't like things how we left them. Can we talk when you're ready? That's repair. That's connection. And that is mature love. If it feels clunky or messy or weird, lean into it. The silence is not going to save your marriage, but the vulnerability might. The other scenario that I hear quite a bit is my spouse never apologizes. So now what? I'm waiting for this apology. I'm waiting for repair. And I know it's not going to come because they just don't apologize. They haven't in the X number amount of years that we've been married. I just know this isn't going to be a thing. This is a tough one. You're doing the work and they're not. A spouse who struggles to apologize may feel really intense shame. They may fear being controlled or blamed. They may have a history where apologies meant giving up their voice. So what do? You start with curiosity, not criticism. Saying something like, hey, I've noticed that when we argue, we rarely circle back. I would really love for us to find ways to repair better. I want to feel close again after a fight. Can you tell me what happens for you after the fight? Can you tell me what would help you circle back? Can you help me understand why apologies are hard for you? You don't say, you never apologize, or you're emotionally unavailable. You're a narcissist. Instead, you're going to invite them into something with you. And if they do apologize, celebrate their growth, even if it's imperfect. You're taking the steps, right? It's not going to be perfect right out the gate. Here's another scenario that I see a lot. Why do I always have to apologize first? Why am I the one that's always apologizing? Shouldn't they apologize sometimes? Yes, they should, but relationships aren't always 50-50 in a moment. They're 100-100 over time. If you feel like you are the one constantly initiating repair, bring it up, but not when you're in a heated moment. Instead, try something like, hey, something that I've noticed, and I feel, this is my perspective, so you can tell me what you feel as well, but I feel that I'm the one that goes first after conflict most of the time. And it would really mean a lot to me if we could both take turns with that. Use soft startups. Again, this is from Gottman research. You're going to avoid blame. 92% of the time, how you start the conversation is how it's going to end. So if you're using I feel when, because, here's what I need as a sentence frame, when you're using I statements and you're focusing on the outcome you want, which is connection, not control, your conversations are going to statistically go so much better. Now, let's talk about forgiveness, because this is where a lot of couples get stuck. Unforgiveness is actually a form of protection. If I don't let it go, I don't have to get hurt again. And it's also a prison for you, not for them. Biblically, forgiveness means releasing the debt. Releasing is the key word there. Not pretending that it never happened. You're not forgetting. You're going to remember what happened. And over time, when you repair, there's studies now that have been done that your memories are actually lying to you. That the more that you remember something, there might be a little detail that's changed in the way that you remember it, and your brain doesn't know the difference between a memory and reality. So if you're changing that memory every time in your brain, oh, he said this, oh, she said that, and then he did this, and then she said that, you're changing the memory to actually make it worse. But when you repair, that actually softens the memory that you have to where over time you might forget it. So let's take something like cheating, for example. Instead of getting defensive every single time your partner's triggered, apologize again. Apologize again. Show your humility. Build the trust that shows that you are changing your behavior. Over time, they might not forget completely, but over time, it is going to soften the way that they remember it. It's not going to be such a harsh pain every single time. Ephesians 4:32 says, be kind and compassionate to one another, forgiving each other just as Christ God forgave you. Forgiveness does not mean you weren't hurt. It doesn't mean that there are no consequences. It doesn't mean that you have to rebuild trust instantly, because none of those are going to happen. There's always going to be consequences to the hurt that you have. Always. Every single time. You're always going to be hurt in certain ways. And trust is built in drops and lost in buckets. What forgiveness does mean is that you are choosing to move forward. You are releasing the power that the hurt has over your heart. That's what it does mean. It doesn't mean that you're going to rise above it. Other cultures sometimes treat forgiveness as that you're rising above it and now you're just above whoever hurt you. And that is creating contempt, not healing. That is saying, oh, well, now I'm just better than you. No. True forgiveness isn't ignoring the pain. It is moving through it together. So let's recap. Real apologies repair the damage that conflict creates. Most couples are not fighting too much. They're repairing too little. The 5-finger apology, I'm sorry for, I know it impacted you in this way. In the future, I will. Will you forgive me? Is your roadmap. You can change the dynamic even if your spouse isn't quite there yet. Go first. That is what humility is. Pride keeps us from apologizing. Pride keeps us stuck. Pride is what got Satan thrown out of heaven to begin with. You think it's not hurting you? You think it's not hurting your relationship? Put down the pride. Forgiveness frees you, and repair reconnects you. So, here's your homework for this week. After your next conflict, I want you to practice the 5-finger apology. If things feel awkward, go first. Go first. Have humility. Break the silence with connection. Write down one repair attempt statement that you can use regularly. Talk about apology styles with your spouse. What feels sincere to them? What do they need to see the most? Do they need to see more repair attempts during the conflict? Do they need more time to process afterwards? Do they need you to set a specific time to come back? If you're the one that leaves the conversation and you say, hey, I'm flooded. I need 20 minutes. I can't do this. I need 20 minutes to calm down. It is your responsibility to come back and repair in 20 minutes. If you still need time, it is your responsibility to come back or call. Do not text. Come back or call and say, hey, I know I said 20 minutes, but I'm still seething. I need another hour. I need whatever. And make sure that during that time, you're doing something healthy for your relationship. You're not getting drunk at a bar. You're not going out looking for somebody else. You're not doom scrolling on social media. You're not in somebody else's DMs. Okay? You are doing something that is self-soothing and respectful to your relationship. It's really important. What feels sincere to them? What feels sincere to you? Talk about it. Have these conversations. Unspoken expectations are one of the biggest problems in relationships. And the more that you talk about these things, the more that you define them. What does an apology look like? What does it feel like? What did it look like growing up? How were you taught to apologize? All of these things create healthier, stronger relationships. And they connect you and your spouse because you're letting them into your world. Thank you for joining me today on the Married and Connected podcast. If this episode stirred something in you, good. This work is not easy, but it is so worth it. If you are ready to go deeper, as I've talked about many times, I only work with a handful of select couples at a time so that you have more access to me as your coach. I've got one spot left in my one-on-one coaching program before October, and I would love to walk alongside you and your marriage to build connection, safety, and real lasting love. Also, don't forget that my Connected and Committed Self-Study course walks you through these tools in a way that is affordable, easy to follow, and ready right now. Check the link in the show notes to sign up. Share this episode with a friend or a couple who needs to hear it. Leave a review if you loved it, and come connect with me on Instagram at married.and.connected. And remember, apologies are not weakness. They're the building blocks of lasting intimacy. Until next time, stay married and connected. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Married and Connected podcast. I appreciate you so much. I would absolutely adore you if you would go leave a review. It's how my podcast grows and gets in front of other people. I want to take a moment to share an important disclaimer, not for you, but for my legal team. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Now, while I am a certified marriage coach, I am not a licensed therapist, counselor, or medical professional. The information, opinions, and advice shared here are based on my experience, research, and expertise, but they are not a substitute for professional mental health, legal, or medical advice. Every relationship is unique, and what works for one couple may not work for another. If you're facing serious relationship struggles, mental health concerns, or other challenges, I encourage you to seek the guidance of a qualified professional. And by listening to this podcast, you agree that I, Kameran Al-Areqi, the Recognizing Potential Coaching brand, or the Married and Connected podcast are not responsible for any decisions that you make based on the content shared here. Your relationship, your choices, and your outcomes are ultimately in your hands.